So what changes now, Congressman? Because now you have control of all three branches of government. You have a new president, and so you have a new, presumably much more cooperative Department of Justice. What does that mean for the investigation moving forward, and how much was it neutered by these pardons, and what remains on the table?
Well, what my investigation revolved around, it wasn't the sexual crimes that were committed on the laptop. Mine just focused on the bank records, the financial crimes. We traced the money. And I remember when we found that 10 different Biden family members received incremental payments that had been laundered through these 20 shell companies. The liberal media attacked me and they said, you're dragging their family in. There's no evidence that the family took money, when we just provided the evidence. But the worst thing, the media, that I learned the hard way, and a lot of people in America are financially illiterate. They didn't even know what an LLC was, much less money laundering and incremental payments and suspicious activity reports and bank violations. So it was very difficult to explain to people where this money was coming from, because they were foreign names. They were coming from countries that, other than China, most people had never heard of. And then, the way they laundered it, and that's an expression that a lot of people didn't understand. It went down to the 10 different Biden family members. Well, when he pardoned, all those family members yesterday, the only place in the world where those spouses' names are written, there's two places in the world about being involved in these Biden crimes. It's one bank memorandum, and then my book, and it details those names of the spouses. That's the only places those names are described. So I know Joe Biden or someone read Joe Biden the book, and that's why they pardoned him. So the next step, it's in Pam Bondi's court. And I want to, we've reached out to Bondi on some things. She knew we were going to send a letter. We sent a letter last week saying we encourage her to prosecute Jim Biden because he lied to Congress. He lied in his transcribed interview about his participation in one of these schemes. And all I can do is investigate bank records. But the Department of Justice, they could nail the Bidens for violation of Foreign Agents Registration Act. They could nail the Bidens for money laundering. They could nail the Bidens for tax evasion. The Irish whistleblowers said they didn't pay any taxes on the tens of millions of dollars that we found they took from these foreign countries. The banks said they were money laundering. Everybody that knows anything knows they were violating the Foreign Agents Registration Act. So the ball's in Pam Bondi's court. I'm willing to work with her. I know Jim Jordan in his Judiciary Committee is willing to work with her. The question is, is the Trump administration committed to holding them accountable? Now, I'll say this. I know they're committed to holding the deep state actors that were involved in the cover-up accountable. And that's another thing we go into in the book. What we found in our investigation, I thought, well, how did nobody find out about this? What we learned was they did know about it. The IRS had an investigation of the Bidens. The Department of Justice in 3 different jurisdictions had investigations of the Bidens. The FBI had investigations of the Bidens, and the Securities and Exchange Commission had investigations of the Bidens. But at each point, it would get to the point in the investigation where they would have to talk to Joe Biden, because obviously this money was coming because of Joe. It wasn't coming because of his crackhead son or his low IQ brother, Jim. It was coming because of Joe. And anytime they got to the point where they wanted to talk to Joe, someone in the deep state, someone in the government stepped in and said, stand down. And the investigation would halt, would stop, the statute of limitations would expire, and there was a massive cover-up involved by our government.